today's company would be my mochi donut. So it's called mochi nut. Let's see if it's tasty or not. Wow! Dun dun! So I got 2 sesame, 2 strawberry, 1 churro, and 1 yuzu. So which one should I try now? I'm gonna try some strawberry and some sesame. So start with sesame. Satisfies my craving, and we're gonna start talking about some ways to take care of our body. And I did bring my little note today, so hopefully I will talk more smoothly. And before I start, let me get my table ready. And I'll put this away. Again, this is the mochi nut, so mochi's donut. Very sweet though for strawberry. I like the sesame more. It tastes really fusion of Oriental dessert and Western donut idea. Okay. My notes today would be
Welcome to Happiness Wellness Talk, where together we will discover how to live well.
iced coffee I made before I left my house, and I did not put ice cube. I put room temperature water to keep my coffee still cool but not ice. Okay, so I want to talk about how to take care of our body based on what we eat. And today's episode, I will be looking at my notes while we talk too. So hopefully you don't mind, because my notes is pretty messy in Chinese. Okay. First, today, at the beginning, we did mention about how our body are coordinated with the 4th season and 12-hour, 24-hour, 24 solar terms. And so, in the old literature, they talk about everything has a limit. And I did mention that anything too much is not good, anything too little is not good in the past. So when we are eating, we want to make sure, just like how people try to lose their weight, they would limit their intake in food to make sure that they're eating enough but not overeating. So they would calculate their calories. So when they calculate their calories, that is like to limit and to have a balance of how much you eat in. Next one would be the frequency. when we come to eating pattern, there's a frequency. So for example, if you are planning to gain muscle, to train your body and building your body, of course you're going to be eating more frequently compared to everyone else. And in that case, the frequency and time, it's another factor that we have to limit, which means throughout the day you have a set schedule and set frequency of how you intake for your body. Some people, they probably eat twice a day. Some people, they eat 3 times a day. Some people eat 5 times a day. But but you want to make sure that you're eating regularly, and the time and frequency are at a set schedule, not like only when you want to eat and then not eat at all for another 10 to 20 hours. So that would harm your body. And then next one would be, like I mentioned before, with season and the solar term. And all of these in Chinese, they talk about 食饮有节. 食 means eat. 饮 means to drink, or like any liquid or water or drinks. 有节, 有 means have. 节 means a rhythm. And just like 节拍, the rhythm, 节, and we 节制, we limit. So, and 节律 would be the frequency, 节律 that I just mentioned. And 季节, the season is the 节. And then the next one would be the 节气, solar term is 节. So when the literature talk about 食饮有节, it could mean like eating and drinking, you have a limit, you have a frequency, you base on the season, you base on the solar term. And so this is the first step for taking your body according to the time and space. So if you're living in the northern hemisphere right now, it's summertime going to the autumn time, of course you base on the season. But if you're living in the southern atmosphere, you may be going into late winter, going into springtime. So all of these are based on your season, time, and space. And so this also will be an interesting way when we look at my patients. A lot of time I do encounter in my clinic, I have patients, they would be seeing doctors in Asia. And for example, there's a lot of island country in Asia, and the weather is very different from here. It's more humid and more warm because it's more closer to equator. So the eating habit, the lifestyle, and the herbal medicine prescribed may be different from people who live in Southern California or Northern California or other places in United States, because according to the weather, the season, and the location on Earth, our body are under a different environment. And you have to eat accordingly to the season, according to where you live, according to the weather where you live. So, for example, I'm in Southern California. Here it's more dry compared to where my motherland would be Taiwan, in the island weather, which is more humid and more rains and more closer to the seashores and the sands and ocean. It's very, and river is very humid, but here is very dry. So you want to eat based on where you live, where you are, and the time and space. And let's go into a first break, and we'll come back to more.
The information shared on this podcast does not replace any medical advice from your doctor. Our goal is to inspire and share our personal stories on health and wellness.
Sesame, it's good. Sesame. Okay, strawberry. In previous previously we just mentioned how we have to eat limited and based on the frequency, time and space, and season, 24 solar term. The next one is the 5 elements of the food that we're eating, and that would be the heart. Let's say 5 organs first. The 5 main organ would be the heart, which correlate with the small intestine, and then the liver, which correlates with the gallbladder, and the spleen, which correlate with the stomach, and the lung, which correlates to large intestine, and lastly the kidney, which correlates to urinary bladder. So all these 5 elements, I'm just going to talk about the main one, and they're related. Next, we are going to talk about the 5 element. 5 element, we mentioned that heart, liver, spleen, lung, and kidney. And all these 5 elements has a pair, which we mentioned in the 12 meridian clock. They are a pair of 2 organs, which is the heart and small intestine, liver and gallbladder, and spleen and stomach, lung and large intestine, kidney and urinary bladder. I'm gonna just use this the main 5 element to talk about how 5 element is related to the season and the food, the taste of the food, and the property of the food. First of all, we're going to start with the heart. Again, in summertime, heart is related to the summertime and correlate with the small intestine. We want to avoid too much of bitterness, but some bitterness will actually soothe the qi of the heart. And bitter melon would be a very common food in the summertime to really clear out some heat or toxin from our the channel of heart qi. But the mild form is we ask our patient to try millet, the grain millet, will actually clear the heart qi because it's a mild form of food to help clear the heat in the heart meridian. The next one would be liver. Liver loves sour food, but too much sour also harm the liver. And liver is related to the springtime, and we mentioned that in the springtime. In the springtime, all the grass, all the tree, all the sprout, they just want to grow up. So same thing, the liver is in charge of your tendons and sinews to grow up, correlating with the gallbladder. And in this case, we don't want too much sour food, but sour food will definitely help strengthen and increase the elasticity of your tendon, this type of benefit. The next pair would be the spleen and stomach. We mentioned spleen and stomach are related to our digestive system, and in spleen and stomach, they love the sweet. They love anything property with sweet or anything food that actually tastes sweet. So when we have too much of sweet food, because our body is so smart, they love to find a way to easily support ourselves, easily to rejuvenate ourselves. So the sweet food goes into the body faster, and then they will have this, like for example bread or donut, which I just ate, and also any sweet dessert. They are easily to digest and easily go into our body as a energy, as a calorie for our body. But too much of these are not good for our digestive system, will harm our spleen and stomach. And spleen and stomach will relate it to late summer, which means because we mentioned that summertime you want to save your water, preserve the water to protect your heart, protect up the fluid from the heart, protect the sweat, not too much of sweat. So going into the late summer, transitioning to the autumn time, you want to have some sweet to preserve these sweat. That's why a lot of people coming from island country or southeast island country, or like me, my mother in Taiwan, if you're coming from southern part of Taiwan, you tend to have a taste bud that's sweeter because you love that sweet food when this hot summertime to help preserve your sweat not losing too much, and so that your body is not dehydrated too much in the summer and late summertime. And going into the autumn, the fall, would be the long and large intestine that we just mentioned earlier, that in the past, that in your autumn time you want to preserve the water even more, because it's more likely we feel the dryness of our throat, so that when we are talking is very dry. And also the taste for the lung would be the pungent. So pungent will really stimulate your lung, but too much will create more dryness to your lung, and that's not good. And pungent food we can consider like anything that's more spice. For example, anything like daikon and um, I would say ginger or green onion. These they have some spice. They're more correlated to the lung, large intestine taste. So in the autumn time, we try to avoid these because we will have the tendency to want to have these, but you want to avoid these to not harm your lung and large intestine. Lastly would be the kidney and the urinary bladder. Kidney loves salty food, so because it's the processing engine to help digest to like separate all the electrolytes, the positive ion, negative ions. So they definitely love salty food because they're in charge of taking care of, that's their work, right? So you don't want to eat anything too salty, which will harm your urinary bladder, harm your kidney, because everything will stay in your body, but not your toxin and heavy metals are not going away from your body. So in the winter time, it's correlated to the urinary bladder and kidney, and you want to avoid these type of food too much so that you can preserve the good quality element to your body instead of these heavy metal, heavy toxins. And all of the above 5 pairs of elements and organs and the seasons, the most important thing when you're eating is anything not too much, anything not too little, and especially not to eat too salty, not to eat too spicy, not to eat too oily, not to eat fried food. And all of these above, I believe I actually touched on something that you love. And if you notice you tend to crave for a certain type of food, you definitely want to limit them so that you're not eating too much of those type of food, which will harm whichever pair of organ that we just mentioned above. And to summarize this, overall, we mentioned you are what you eat, we are what we eat. Your stomach, spleen, your digestive system is so important for our immune system. And all of the above 5 type of taste, you want to eat balance of all type of food, and all type of color. We did not mention on the color of each food. Let me go over really quick. Heart would be the red food or pink food, and the liver would be the green food and leafy food, and the spleen stomach would be the yellow food or any grain or like yam or pumpkins, these yellow food or squash. And then the liver would be the lung and large intestine would be the white food, which means like we would say like I mentioned earlier, daikon and or herb with the leaves and the white wood ears. Maybe if you go to the Asian supermarket, you would find these type of food. And lastly, the kidney would be related to the black foods, so like black beans and any like black sesames. And all of these above of 5 element, 5 color, 5 taste, you don't want to eat too much of one type, because when we're eating all these food, we are increasing our energy. So this in Chinese we said 五味不偏长，五味不偏是, and it will create 增气, more increase the qi, increase the energy. 五味不偏长, 5 味 taste, 不 不, no. 偏 means to skew toward or only pick one chang to eat. So just don't pick only certain type of food to eat. You want to balance all 5 types to increase your energy, so that your 5 element, your 5 pair of organ, and in which is actually the 10 organs, all of them are balanced. So they are not balanced. We don't want hormone imbalance. We don't want to be insomnia. We don't want to be hyperactive. We can't sleep at night. We don't want to be like lack of energy to think. We don't want to be over depressed. We cannot function properly. All of these above, and we want to be balanced just based on first step, what you eat in to be balanced. And so because if you're having something too much, something too little, the first thing it will show up is your health. And again, spleen and stomach, we mentioned that is related to the sweet. Let me give you a little tip. If you are trying to avoid pimples, acne on your skin, or any rashes on your skin, you definitely want to avoid too spicy, too oily, too fried, or too salty and too sweet food. Because if you have too much of these food, your body gonna have nowhere to release these toxins and end up coming out from your skin, coming out from your hair, coming out from your sweat. So you want to make sure all of these are balanced. And let's go into break, and we'll sum up for today's conversation. See you soon.
The information shared on this podcast does not replace any medical advice from your doctor. Our goal is to inspire and share our personal stories on health and wellness.
Welcome back. So we mentioned that to eat with a balanced element, balanced color, balanced taste. We also mentioned to eat limited based on the time and space, season, and frequency. Lastly, we want to mention that you do want to sleep according to the clock, according to the time of the day. Unless you're working the opposite hour, you're working at night and sleeping at the daytime, then you do try to create a circadian time clock, that rhythm for your body to sleep accordingly. Otherwise, you do want to sleep when the sun is down and wake up when sun's come out. And then eating part, we mentioned earlier, not just the balance. You don't want to eat too full. You don't want to be too hungry. So if you do feel a little bit hungry before you're going to bed, make sure you eat something before you go to bed, but not eat fully before you go to bed, so that you are not feeling uncomfortable sleeping. So I know some of the doctor would tell you don't eat anything before you go to bed. It will make you feel uncomfortable, but you definitely want to eat a little bit so that your body is not feeling that hunger when you go to bed if you are very hungry. Okay, we always want to make sure your body at a balanced state. Lastly, rest. To rest is for you to rejuvenate yourself, to able to do more later on. So don't work too hard. Definitely get some time to rest and have a good nap throughout the day. And do take a break in between your work so that you're not in one position whole time, which will harm your joints, harm your lymph. And hopefully this episode will help you a lot. I'll talk about more wellness talk next time. Have a good weekend. Bye. But first one, the heart we mentioned before is related to the summertime, and a little bit bitterness will help to soothe the heart. So a bitter melon is a very common food that in the summer to really cleans out the a little bit bitter melon will help cleans up the soothe the chi of the heart. And the next one would be but the heart, we don't want to eat too much of bitterness, because too much bitter will harm the heart as well.